In this lecture, I will review the different stages of romantic relationships. Although romantic relationships progress in a variety of ways, there are commonalities in how relationships change over time. First, let us discuss self-disclosure. Imagine two people meeting for the first time. During this initial stage of a relationship, people engage in variety degrees of self-disclosure, sharing information about themselves. Self-disclosure plays a key role in the formation and maintenance of close relationships and in the intimacy developed between two people. When people first meet, they usually engage in small talk, superficial forms of self-disclosure that generally go no deeper than the weather or where they are from. If both people find these initial encounters rewarding, then they tend to open up, communicating about a broader range of topics and revealing deeper, more intimate information about themselves. Typically, smooth, enjoyable conversations in early stages tend to involve exchanges of self-disclosure at the same depth. Too much self-disclosure too soon is viewed as bizarre. It turns out that relationship patterns share different types of information about themselves in different stages of the relationship. According to Bernard Murstein in 1987, stimulus value role theory, when partners first meet, their attraction to each other is primarily based on stimulus information. Conspicuous attributes such as age and physical appearance. If the relationship progresses beyond these first impressions, partner enters the value stage, in which they share their attitudes and beliefs about religion and sex, for example. This stage helps them to decide whether they are sufficiently compatible to continue the relationship. After partners have been committed to each other for a while, that they begin communicating about their roles, meaning their attitudes and plans when it comes to major life tasks such as parenting and establishing a career. Research suggests that these stages are not really discrete or orderly. Now, let's talk about those rose-colored lenses. Another reason that people in new romantic relationship often believe that they have found the perfect partner is that they perceive their new partner through rose-colored lenses. People all over the world want to have a romantic partner who is warm and trustworthy, loyal and passionate, attractive and exciting, and smart and competent. But what we usually end up with, however, is someone with less than the total package. I'm sure you remember my video lecture on cognitive dissonance theory. After a person has made a choice between alternatives that are similar in attractiveness, the nagging doubt that she made the wrong choice creates an uncomfortable feeling of dissonance. In a similar manner, people show a powerful tendency, at least early in a relationship, to construct idealized perceptions of their romantic partners that highlight their positive qualities and downplay their faults. These idealized perceptions are called positive illusions. They are not full-blown illusions in the sense that partners are completely blind to the truth about each other's virtues and faults, but rather they are illusions in a sense that individuals interpret facts about their partners in a fashion that other people would. Now, moving on and adjusting to interdependency, we have seen that early in the relationship, partners disclose in a way that downplays potential incompatibilities, and they view each other through the rose-colored lenses of positive illusions. As a result of these and other processes, romantic relationships usually start off with a rapid increase in satisfaction as partners are overtaken with the excitement and passion of new love. But soon after this initial state of bliss, most dating relationships, even those that eventually result in marriage, hit a plateau in which satisfaction levels off for a while. Now, why does this happen? Well, according to the model of relationship turbulence proposed by Solomon in 2004, in the early stage of a relationship, there is little conflict, largely because partners do not interfere with each other's routines or goals. But as partners make a transition from casual dating to more serious involvement in the relationship, they often go through a turbulent period of adjustment and turmoil. As they spend more time together and become dependent on each other, partners start to interfere with each other's daily routines, which take up the time the partners previously devoted to the activities they enjoyed before the relationship began. If the partners stay together and learn how to adjust to the increasing interdependency, coordinating their routines and accommodating each other's personal needs and plans, the period of turmoil quiets down. This can result in another increase in satisfaction. This model helps explain why conflict in romantic relationships is particularly high during the period of young adulthood. But things do become more peaceful after that. Now, once a couple has made it through the turbulence caused by adjusting to interdependence, and they have struck a workable balance between their motives for independence and belonging, they decide to get married, pledging to spend the rest of their lives together. We can now expect that they will live happily ever after, enjoying the same or even higher levels of satisfaction, right? Well, not necessarily. Unfortunately, research shows that the prognosis for the course of the marital relationship is not as blissful as most couples expect it to be. Now, in one of the more comprehensive studies of marital satisfaction, Houston and colleagues in 2001 followed dozens of spouses who married in 1981. Relationship satisfaction steadily declined for both husband and wives as the years went by. A similar pattern has been reported for the majority of couples in other studies as well. Most of the time, couples do start with an unrealistic expectation. good relationships demand a great deal more work and sacrifice than is typically portrayed in movies and on greeting cards. If a couple weds with unrealistic, high expectations about the magic of marriage, they can feel cheated and disappointed later on, even if their relationship is healthy according to objective criteria. As I mentioned in a previous lecture regarding social exchange, satisfaction of close relationships depends on how well the partner's current outcomes match their comparison level. A final reason satisfaction declines during the first years of marriage is that passionate love, the burning desire for each other that makes life so blissful and exciting, tends to diminish over time. Whereas early on, husband and wives claim that they feel an urgent longing for each other and that they melt when they look into each other's eyes. Pretty soon, that intensity diminishes. Indeed, the decrease in the couple's romantic love can happen rapidly. Only 2 years after tying the knot, spouses express affection about half as often as they did when they first wed. This may be one reason that around the globe, divorces occur most frequently in the 4th year of marriage, when married couples complain that their magic has died. And for this reason, as well as many others, some estimates place the U.S. divorce rate near 50%, but a much higher percentage for even serious dating relationships will ultimately come to a close. Breakups can be devastating, even for the dumper opposed to the quote-unquote dumpee. A breakup often exacts a severe toll on overall well-being. The two major emotions that people experience during a breakup are anger and sadness. In addition to causing an emotional upheaval, a breakup can also jar our senses of who we are, blurring our sense of self and ultimately a redefinition of our self-concept. But what does the research tell us? Are we all doomed? Well, all of this can seem depressing, but it shouldn't be. The process we've described, the trials and tribulations, the irreversible decline in novelty, are normal and probably will happen to most married couples, but people can mitigate the negative impact of these processes simply by being informed of what to expect as marriage develops over time. Studies show spouses who began their marriages with unrealistic positive expectations of marital bliss are the least satisfied in their marriages as the years click on. Conversely, after 4 years of marriage, the happiest couples are those who started out with realistic outlooks about what married life would be like. Simply by being aware of these processes and starting marriage with reasonable expectations, couples can still enjoy their relationships long after the honeymoon is over. But of course, some committed romantic relationships end in a few years. Some last, but become less and less satisfying. And others remain satisfying and passionate for a lifetime. Even in marriages where the passion has dwindled, older couples sometimes continue to express deep, compassionate love for each other that can keep them genuinely happy. When reviewing the topic of long-term relationships and understanding those that dissolve and those that thrive, the interdependence theory proposes 3 factors that determine commitment: satisfaction level, quality of alternatives, and investment. Decisions are also based on whether the relationship meets psychological needs. Interestingly, securely attached people are more likely to leave an unsatisfying relationship. Moving on to daily hassles. The ability to let daily hassles roll off one's back makes for a happier relationship. Pre-existing vulnerabilities and external stress make this harder to do. Now, conflict is irreversible. Each partner's ability to use voice constructively facilitates optimal compromise solutions. And lastly, keeping relationships alive. It is highly important to maintain a healthy relationship that depends on a secure base and mutual support and growth. Emotional support also is important, as is sharing novel and stimulating experiences together.